Before we start today, if you want to hear the story we're talking about, why not pop over to Joe's feed, The Pagerist, search for it on all your normal podcatchers, and listen to him do a reading of the story in full.
Doctor Who, too hot for TV.
Welcome back to the Doctor Who Too Hot for TV Christmas Advent Calendar. Every day this month, I'm joined by a different guest to look at a different Doctor Who annual story. And today, I'm joined once again by Joe. Joe, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Dylan.
Are you feeling festive?
Always feeling festive. I don't just restrict that to December. I feel like festive in May and also February. Only
Excellent.
those two.
Just those two. Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, they're great months to feel festive. So before we jump into today, I need to know, do you have a history with annuals, Doctor Who annuals or otherwise? Did you get them as a kid? Do you collect them now? That sort of thing.
I would have always got the Beano when I was a kid. Like the Beano annuals sort of through the late 90s, early 2000s would have been my... So that would have been the one that turns up in your Christmas stocking or whatever. It's a wide stocking. And then my brother would have always got the Dandy, and we had that weird rivalry between them, despite the fact they're very clearly published by the same people. Doctor Who annuals weren't a thing, because I sort of, I was born in 89, so I was slightly too late. I did collect the last two, mainly because I wanted the David Tennant story, the 14th Doctor story. Just it felt like we got so little of him, I wanted to just have the complete set.
Okay, that's exciting. And so there is a little story with Tennant too.
Yeah, I literally remember nothing about it. So I remember thinking, oh, that was all right. But that's.
Well, one day when I come to do an episode on the 14th Doctor, I will gather together his 3 extended media appearances and form an episode out of it. But today, we're going to talk about Pitter Patter, which is a story from the Doctor Who Annual 2006, which was released in September of 2005. It was written by Rob Shearman and illustrated by Daryl Joyce. So presumably you've not read this before.
No, this was the first time. I've read it a couple of times for this, but no, I'd not heard this before, or read it rather.
So when I decided to do this, I was like, most people are drawn to the older annuals because they're a lot of the time quite off-brand, quite silly. Some of them terrible, some of them wonderful in a kind of very innocent way, but largely they don't have a lot of relevance to the television show Doctor Who. So I wanted to jump into this one because what happens in 2005 is Doctor Who comes back to the television. And I'm not saying that all the annuals after this are worse, but because Doctor Who annuals had a reputation for being quite shoddy, when it comes back, the first annual that comes out is this annual that has stories by Paul Cornell and Rob Shearman and input from Russell T Davies, and Gareth Roberts writes a story. And it's like, it's the first time people who grew up reading Doctor Who annuals got a chance to make a Doctor Who annual and turn it into what it should have always been, which is full of exciting adventures for the Doctor and their companion. And I think Pitter Patter is no exception.
I think you're right.
So let's jump into the story and see what we get out of this. We've got this kid, Andy, and he's at home. His dad's lost his job. His dad drinks a lot. And his dad suddenly has this idea that they're going to go to a new planet and start a new life, which his mom's very upset about. Already, this is painting not the nicest picture of a child's home life, would you say?
It's so fucking bleak. Like, considering, because like you say, I didn't go into this knowing much. The only one I'd read was the 14th Doctor one, which is, like you say, it's a bit of fluff. There's not an awful lot to it. So I sort of went in thinking, I know you'd said Shearman, and I was excited by that because I like, obviously, who doesn't like Rob Shearman? He's never done any bad work as far as I understand it. So, though I feel like he might beg to differ, but he's wrong. So I sort of started reading this, and within a paragraph, I was like, this is the bleakest shit I've ever read. And I love it. I'm so here for it.
Me too. It's also like you can imagine a kid picking this up on Christmas Day and getting their parents to read them this story, and their parents just going, oh God, this is so depressing, but the kid thinking this is really exciting.
Yeah, I think that's I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead, but like the tone of it's perfect because because it comes from the kid's perspective. Yeah. It's that sort of thing where I don't know if I read this to my kids, whether or not they'd be frightened by it. But as a parent, it scares me shitless.
So the dad is also eating some meat-flavoured syrup, which is the most depressing-sounding thing I've ever heard of.
Well, I thought about this, and I remembered that when I used to go to the leisure centre as a kid, we'd go after swimming lessons or whatever, and one of the sandwiches that they would sell there would be meat paste.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I feel like it's weird that they didn't specify what meat. I don't eat meat anymore, but I feel like there must be something deep rooted in the back of my mind that was like, that's not right. That
I used to work in a factory, and there was a free soup machine in there that was like this grey soup machine that you'd press a button and a plastic cup would come out. And there was loads of meat-flavoured soups in that, and it's like, none of these weird powders have seen any real meat ever, but there's clearly something fucking horrible in them.
That sounds very Red Dwarf.
Yeah, it was very Red Dwarf. So they freeze their dog, as you do, and they head off into space. And we sort of cut to, they've been there 6 weeks, and loads of people have been killed. Uncle Ben, who was the person that... Was it Uncle Ben? It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Bernard.
Uncle Bernard, yeah. Uncle Ben's the rice guy.
To be fair, if you were looking for an Uncle Ben that has died, there is a famous one to go for, but I don't think it's this story. The Spider-Man guy.
Bernard was the one who convinced them to go there, and he's been sliced up, the book says, and it is raining, and they're hiding away in this little shelter, and suddenly the Doctor and Rose arrive through the rain, and Rose has got a cut on her cheek. There's a lovely moment here where Andy bursts into tears. Like, they're sort of selling the emotion and the innocence of it, but then when Rose and the Doctor arrive, he sort of bursts into tears after not realising that he's scared. It's a lovely look at sort of the innocence of childhood and how fear resonates.
Yeah, it's like the first time he's been allowed to be vulnerable because his parents are too busy wrapped up in their own lives.
Yeah.
To really, like this. It's the first time anyone said to him, like, "Are you all right?" Because clearly no one's asked him at this point. Like, there's the bit where you were saying about freezing the dog, and there's a lovely bit where there's that whole paragraph about how they were all smiling as the dog had a daft expression on its face when it went into the freezer. And the next paragraph starts with, the day the Doctor arrived and changed his life forever was also the day Andy had decided to envy the dog. And it's like such a lovely U-turn of just kind of going, like, it tells you that passage of time of just they're going, this is shit, this.
In sci-fi, never go off to a colony world where there's manual labour jobs need doing because it never ends well. Only go off to an idyllic colony world where the whole place has already been colonised and it's trees and they've got a Marks and Spencers and stuff like that, because it's just, you go off to this brutal world and everybody gets fucked up. It's just the rule.
Yeah. It's one of my biggest fears, which this story really unlocked. Like, I felt as I was reading this story, it really unlocked a lot of key anxieties for me. Because the idea of being stuck somewhere and unable to feed my kids, like my eldest can't go 20 minutes without a yogurt. Like he finishes his tea and then he's like, "Dad, I think I'm a bit hungry." And I'm like, you physically cannot be. You've just foie gras yourself. There's no way. The idea of being stuck in an underground bunker with a child who, the bit where he says, "Oh, I'm thirsty," and they're like, "Oh, are you sure? Because we haven't got an awful lot of water left." Like, the colony stuff it really freaks me out, man. The perspective that it's written from, the fact that it comes from Andy's perspective, makes it so much sort of safer in that way. Like I was saying before, how a kid might read this and not be as frightened by it.
Yeah.
But as an adult, it terrifies me because that whole, like, that's your whole job.
Yeah.
You fucked it.
Yeah.
Like, you've taken your kid to this colony world and he's almost certainly going to die. And you know that. But Andy doesn't know that.
Yeah, it's terrifying stuff. So they're running out of water, and it's revealed that it's the rain that kills people. It won't stop until it's killed. The first shower killed 20 people. The last storm lasted 2 weeks, and the rain targets the shelters. The rain seems to fall directly on it, trying to break through. And as the rain starts to ease off, Andy's mom goes, "It's a trick. It's trying to coax you out, basically." And they go, "Listen too long and you'll believe the water is talking to you and saying, the rain is saying, come and join us, come and join us." What do we think about this threat of sentient rain?
It's another one of those lovely Doctor Who ideas that you couldn't really do it in most shows, but it works really well here. Like, it's such a good, I mean, because I don't know, my history is not always great, but at this sort of time, I feel like I would have been in sort of doing my GCSEs and stuff. I feel like we're talking about acid rain a lot,
Yeah.
and it's part of that zeitgeist. So the idea of rain that could kill you is not that far from anybody's mind. It's probably not something you're thinking about all the time, but it's there in the back of your mind. So it kind of just takes that little nugget of an idea and really expands on it, because you can't get away. It's the one thing, especially from a colony world where things are hard enough as it is. You're already on the frontier or whatever. It's impossible to avoid the weather. Like, it's the one thing we still can't control now.
No.
We can build our houses as strong as we can, but the weather is still fucking people's stuff up all over the place.
I live in London, and the tiniest bit of rain seems to bring everything to a standstill, even though it's been raining forever.
Yeah, I once I used to live in the northeast, and I used to get on the metro, and one day it was obviously it would be out of action if it was raining or if there was leaves on the line. But my favourite one was getting an announcement over the tannoy going, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry to announce that the train's been we've had to take a train out of service because it's expanded in the heat." And I was like, like, they have trains in India. Why do we have like trains that are safe enough for people to ride on the outside of? Why is that train so hot? Why does this country sucks so much at transport?
The infrastructure in England is screwed, but this
is
isn't
very
that podcast.
No, sorry, I'm going off on one. I like to whip that out whenever I got the opportunity.
No, it makes sense. So, for a brief moment, his mom is excited to go outside, but his dad stops her. Then the rain is concentrating on another shelter, the Jackson families, and they basically run out and are killed. And at that point, the dad pulls a pistol out and says he wants the doctor and Rose out. And he says, and this is quite harrowing, "I just want to save my family." And then, "We're not family anymore," said the woman unexpectedly. And then, "You're no husband to me, no father to Andy. You can't even keep a job. And then if we're going to live through this, we're going to leave you. We're going to run away and not be with you anymore because I can't stand it, Jack. I can't."
My fucking heart snapped in two. This is a children's annual. This is for children, Rob. This is the bit. This was the moment where, for me, like, my brain just snapped. Have you ever read? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. But have you ever read Crossed by Gareth Ennis, the comics?
I've not, no.
Are you familiar with his work from Preacher and that sort of? So Crossed is kind of like zombies, but if zombies, instead of being, this is very not safe for work now, but like if zombies, instead of being like the undead, were like raping, murdering, like just doing all the most horrible, fucked up things that people can imagine. There's a point in one of the comics where this guy and his wife and baby are like being confronted by these sort of evil zombies. And he's like, "I know what I'll do. I'll protect us." And then he surrounds them with a ring of salt. And the next page is of both him and his wife being sort of raped and their baby being torn in two.
Jesus Christ.
Her screaming at him, "This is your fault. You've done this." And that, for me, is like distilled. That's like the worst bit of my brain just locked away. Like, that's the picture that I just keep as my worst fear. And that feels like a similar vibe.
Yeah, no, I get you. And I think as you get older, I don't have kids, but I've got a partner. And the worst thing for me ever is not to be able to provide a lifestyle that is good enough for us, if you know what I mean. I don't mean like a high-flying, jet-setting lifestyle, but it's like, as you get older, your priorities change. And it's like, well, I want to build a future for us and be able to support us. And, you know, she's obviously
exactly
got the same. But the idea that could be taken away from you, or that you're not good at that, because on a sort of very base primal level, that is kind of what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah. And to hear it as well, to hear it from the person who, in theory, like, obviously you kind of know Andy's dad's kind of a shit dad, but he's trying in a selfish way. Like, you can tell that that's kind of where he's at. He's not really done this for his family, but he thinks he is. And like, to have that finally said out loud by Andy's mum, to just be like, "You have made this awful. And if we don't die, we're not involved. We're not interested. Yeah. If we get out of this, it won't be because of you. It'll be in spite of you."
Yeah, it's harrowing stuff.
It really is. It's so bleak.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. There was one thing I wanted to just quickly address, which is earlier on in the story, just before, where Andy's been asleep on Rose, and he wakes up and he's embarrassed and he's a bit shy. And obviously he's that kind of age. I think I would say he's like 9 or 10. And I assume in the illustration he looks like my son's friend Jacob, which is weird. Um, but that's by the by, and I wouldn't expect anybody else to recognise it.
I don't know him, though.
No, that's too much. That would be too much.
Yeah.
But he wakes up and he says he was embarrassed about sleeping next to Rose. He said he felt happier cradling the periscope for the while. You knew where you were with the periscope, and I thought this feels like a sort of one of those, like a weird sexual awakening where like like when you're a kid and you see something maybe a little bit too early. Like
Yeah.
I can't. The example I could only think of earlier was The Shape of Water. Like I feel like if you saw The Shape of Water when you were too young, just on that precipice, and now you can only come while you're looking into a koi pond.
How did you know?
I've heard him.
So do you think this kid's going to grow up to be, like that woman that used to shag the Eiffel Tower? Do you think
Yes.
he's going to be a periscope fucker?
If they get out of this alive, yes, 100%. He's going to be down at the whenever you can get to sort of a submarine museum.
He's there just rubbing
Seriously.
himself against it.
Tossing himself off against a U-boat.
Well, I hope Rob writes a follow-up to this.
Yeah, if he ever comes back into the world of Doctor Who, this character Andy, it will be that.
Yeah, everybody wants a follow-up to The Chimes of Midnight. We want Andy being a pervert in the Imperial War Museum.
Nothing would make me happier. Sorry.
Very apparent now that the family's breaking down. They've run out of water. Someone sticks their hand out to get some water and their hand gets cut. They boil the rain and it screams. So I think we all know where this story is going at that point. Then everyone goes to sleep and Andy sort of spots the Doctor and Rose having an argument because the Doctor thinks the family won't get out of this alive. Does it capture the Doctor and Rose's characters well in the sort of, because as I said, it's from Andy's point of view, but they obviously get dialogue and we learn a bit about them.
It really does. I was just thinking, because I've been listening obviously to the more recent ones. Obviously we've had them back over the last couple of months and I feel like they've slipped really back into it there. So I've been aware of them again as actors. And obviously it's not like Shearman doesn't know how to write for these two, because arguably he did the best one of it.
Yeah.
I think that this is perfect. That particular paragraph where they're arguing and just kind of, it's that real great distillation of their relationship and what she brings to the table. And I'd not really ever thought about it before, but that sort of, the way we always talk about Ian and Barbara being an influence on the first Doctor.
Yeah.
And the way that they change his character over the course of their relationship with him. So obviously this is we've got this war-scarred Doctor that we kind of know little bits about at this point when this is coming out. But this is kind of probably the most back to his, not caring, but just kind of that, he can be very blunt, very dismissive, and he's not even looked at this kid the whole time they've been there. And I feel like it really felt like that same influence that Rose is having on him now as we had with the first Doctor, where Ian was like, please don't brain that caveman with a rock. It's a more modern version of that same story, that evolution that he really needed as a character for her to kind of bring him back from that precipice.
It really captures like the moral ambiguity of the Ninth Doctor, of his sort of moral code being slightly skewish from humans. Ultimately, he is out for good, but there are casualties, and he's prepared for them to be casualties. Anyway, the Doctor goes out into the rain. Rose goes after him. He starts shouting at the rain, and then he comes back and he goes, the rain is going to let them leave on the ship. Dad says he doesn't want to go back, and Andy leads them to the spaceship, and they leave the planet, and hopefully for a better life.
Yeah. And there's that devastating moment where you sort of think that, like, there's a real full stop on the relationship between the parents as well. There's a bit where he says, the dad says, I can't go back. There's nothing for me on Earth. No job, no family. The woman said nothing. Like that bit of like, if there was any hope of reconciling this at all, she is just fully gone, no, fuck you. I meant it. And you're fucked.
Yeah. But, I think the woman's going to be all right. Judging by the artwork, she's got a great bum.
She does. And Andy's dad's got more of the sort of bum that I would photograph hanging off him.
Are you going to say professionally, or are you just going to leave that there? Just for everybody.
Professionally. I will say for my wife's dignity, I'm going to say professionally.
Right.
And insist that I do mean that. On this last page, there is two of the best moments, I think, that distill Rose and the Ninth Doctor's character. It's the bit where Rose says, when the Doctor's outside and Andy pushes himself through to watch him presumably get cut to ribbons.
Yeah.
And Rose felt his little child excitement to see something exciting, even the Doctor's death. And for a moment, she was revolted by it. And then she remembered he was a frightened little boy and forgave him. And that is Rose in a nutshell. It's just perfect. That little bit of kind of just going, that revulsion, and then just that empathy of just going, well, no, it makes sense. And just letting it go. It's lovely. And then the bit at the end where Andy says, I wanted to be a spaceman. Can't I be a spaceman? And the doctor says, not underground, not hiding, a proper spaceman, seeing what's out there. There's more than you'd think, isn't there? And the doctor smiled and Andy basked in it. You be a spaceman, he said, just not here and not today. Like, it's that moment of, it wouldn't have worked with Tennant or Smith because you can't imagine them not talking to a kid.
Yeah.
It only works with Eccleston's doctor, I think. And it's a real great distillation of who he is.
How do we feel about the artwork throughout it? Because there's 5 or 6 pictures that sort of sum up the story.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I quite like it. Though I do feel on the first one, the dad looks a lot like, obviously we then find out his name is Jack. And I did feel a little bit like he looks slightly too much like John Barrowman. But no, I like it. It fits the tone, I think. It's very, well, it's bleak. It's just bleak, isn't it? It's a bleak vibe.
It uses a lot of dark colours, and it's almost like, it's not that every picture is one colour, but they've sort of picked different colours that accent what's going on there, and there is like, there's the shot of the people in the rain just sort of getting poured down that looks really horrific, and then the shot of the doctor in the rain staring up at it that sort of gives him his hero moment.
Yeah, I think, are they, I was wondering, I'm looking at a couple and wondering if they're based on film posters, because the doctor looking up in the rain, that looks like Platoon. And then the one of I'm assuming the husband sort of crumpled up and looking all sad, and the woman sort of screaming at the roof looks like the poster for Psycho. There's a bit of the one where it's Rose and then there's 2 in the background looking at each other.
Yeah.
I can't think what that looks like, a sort of like proper old school black and white, like 2 people under a lamppost kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it is.
I can't say for sure that's, I've just noticed it now.
Let's say that's where the influence is from, and no one can argue with us.
Plagiarism.
Yeah.
Pure and simple.
Is there anything else you want to say about this story, or the annual as a whole?
Well, the only other thing I've not actually read, because I did buy it, obviously, I think I said to you, I found it for like £2 on eBay, and I was like, how could I not? Because it's easier to read like that, and it's just nice to have. Because this is very much my period of the show. The only other thing I noticed was that this is the same annual where what I did on my holidays with Sally Sparrow came from. So, like, there's clearly, a lot of good stuff going on. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff with this annual that was worth mining. And I did wonder whether or not there'd have been any chance of this one, if Eccleston had stayed, because like I say, I strongly think it wouldn't have worked with another Doctor. In more so that I've not read the Sally Sparrow one yet, but Blink obviously works because the Doctor's not in it loads. Whereas this is very much more, you get more of the Doctor's character, and I can't see it working with the others. So if Eccleston had stayed, maybe there'd have been a chance that I said to Shannon, can you come back and have a go? But I don't know.
Possibly. Who knows? Because he does write that character well. I've read the Sally Sparrow one before for the podcast, but this is one of the few annuals I've picked up where I will at some point read all the other stories in it, maybe for a podcast, maybe for my own thing, because it's such a unique time, because I imagine when they were writing this, they didn't know whether there would ever be another series of Doctor Who. So would there ever be another annual for Doctor Who? So it was much like the first series. It's sort of throw everything at it because it's the only chance we're going to get.
Yeah, cards on the table.
Yeah, so after this, the annuals sort of start to settle down into more of a formula with a couple of stories, a word search, things like that. And not to say those stories aren't good. I've done a couple of them for this, but it's just this represents like that time where Doctor Who fans had taken over the show and we're going to make everything associated with it the best it could possibly be. And, it captures that era and that time perfectly, I think.
Yeah. It would be impossible to say that they hadn't tried with this. Like, the effort has gone in with some of the show's best writers and everything's perfect. Whereas all I got from the Tennant annual was a very confusing crossword that I got a bit lost in.
Exactly. Great. Well, look, thanks for joining me to talk about this little jump into the 9th Doctor's era. I know you've only done 9th Doctor stuff here, but we'll get you back to do a different Doctor at some point. I'll be back tomorrow with another guest, another annual from a different era. But until then, I've been Dylan.
I've been Joe.
And this has been the Doctor Who Too Hot for TV Advent Calendar.
Doctor Who Too hot for TV.
Incidentally, a happy Christmas to all of you at home.